Hello everybody, my name is Cole Butler. I'm in your class and this is what I look like. I'm doing a short video on one of the articles included in our materials about chess. It is called Mathematical Problem Solving Abilities in Chess, an experimental study on young pupils by Giovanni Sala, Alessandra Guarini, and Gabriella Pravatoni. So I just wanted to make this video to walk through the article and kind of explain an example of a quantitative study to kind of put some of the how-to steps that were discussed in the previous slides into context. So essentially this article looks at whether or not doing chess can improve your mathematical abilities and more broadly your cognitive abilities. And they specifically looked at this in a small sample of children ages 8 to 11 in Italy. So in one of the previous slides, Cami walked through 7 different steps for conducting a quantitative research study. She also had a lovely song. I wish I could sing a song for you as well. It was really fun, but I'm just kind of gonna walk through this article and and put some of what was discussed in it into context. So the first step in the how-to of conducting a quantitative study was to determine the research question and the independent and dependent variables. So this research question was looking at whether a chess intervention improves math abilities in 8 to 11-year-olds. So the independent variable was an online chess course and a training software. So basically Chess Federation teachers taught these kids chess. It was like 1 hour a week for a total of 10 to 15 hours over a course of 3 months. And the dependent variable was math abilities. So they were really looking at, do these math scores improve in a group of children who are trained to play chess relative to kids that just go to school as normal? So the sort of normal school kids were the control group. And the hypothesis there, this is step 2, is saying that chess will improve math abilities. And this was based on some previous research showing that intelligence is correlated with the ability to play chess. But further, does chess really improve intelligence? Like, can you teach kids to play chess and then see them get smarter? So that's what they were looking to find out. So the third step here is the random assignment. So you have to have your experimental group and your control group to really say that when we implemented this intervention, there was a change. So there were 31 total classes. These were 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders across 8 schools in northern Italy. They were assigned to 2 groups, the experimental group or the control group. Experimental group, there were 17 classes. Control group, there was 14. The experimental group had 300 students, about 309. The control group had 251. Interestingly, in the experimental group, at the beginning, 193 students already knew how to play chess, compared to only 72 in the control group that already knew how to play chess. So these are the kinds of things that you need to look out for when you're designing an experimental study, because that could really impact the results later on, especially if you're looking at chess capabilities and like more than twice as many people in your experimental group already know how to play chess. You really want to like have that number be pretty close to equal, or otherwise find a way to experimentally control for chess capabilities ahead of time. So the 4th step here is the pretest. So they used something called the 7 Organizational for Economic Cooperation and Development Program for International Student Assessment, something like that. The OECD PISA, which assesses mathematical problem-solving abilities with several degrees of difficulty, and they also completed another 12-item questionnaire that assessed their chess capabilities. And a really important element of the experimental method is to have a pre-test and a post-test, and they need to look the same. So you want to say, okay, well, what's the score at the beginning? What's the score at the end? Did these scores change? And especially, did they change as a result of our intervention relative to just the control group where nothing happened? So the experimental group received a mandatory chess course protocol and a free software where at any point in time they could just choose to learn chess or not, just go over the basics. And that part was not mandatory, but it was highly recommended. And so the control group, they just went to school. They didn't really do anything else. They didn't really know how to play chess. They didn't learn how to play chess. They were assessed on their math abilities pre to post. Again, it was a 3-month intervention. And then, so like I said, there was a post test at the end. That's step 6. And then step 7 is to actually analyze the data. So they use several methods for this, including t-tests, mixed linear models, and correlational analyses. And, the basic takeaways are that beforehand, the math scores were equal in the chess group, the experimental group, and the control group. But afterwards, the math scores went up way higher in the chess group. So meaning that actually playing chess did improve math capabilities. As I mentioned before, the baseline chess scores, actually, well, I didn't mention this, but it's kind of intuitive because the children in the experimental group largely knew how to play chess and the control group did not. So the baseline chess scores were much higher in the experimental group than the control group. And the chess scores significantly improved from the beginning to the end in the experimental group, but in the control group, they just stayed at that low level pre to post. And then one other thing is that the post-intervention chess scores were correlated with math performance. So there was a significant correlation saying that the chess scores were correlated with that math performance. So chess is better, math is better. So essentially here the hypothesis was confirmed. And what I really didn't go into in depth was the introduction and conclusion section of the paper. This is really basically the method of what's going on, and then you can get into some of the extrapolation. What does this mean? What are the implications of this? If kids are getting better at math through doing a chess intervention, are they also getting smarter in a broad way? And the authors want to say yes. So they kind of dive into that more. I encourage you to read the paper for more on that. For this, I just wanted to kind of go over the methodology that was actually used, kind of in depth. So hopefully that's helpful. So thank you guys. I appreciate your time.